The next few days felt heavier, as if the city itself had learnt about the curse and decided to press it down on him. Snow piled in slow, dirty mounds along sideways. Delivery vans sprayed slush onto his jeans, and the cold seeping through to his skin. Even the chatter at the grocery store felt muffled distant. Every time Emeka tried to push the dream and the vision out of his mind, something dragged it back. A Yoruba woman who frequently visits the store has sharp eyes customer in a faded green head wrap paused by the corner one night and looked at him far too long. "You carry something on your back," she muttered. Before he could respond, she was gone, slipping out into the snow dark. That evening, during his short break, Emeka called Mama again. The background on her end was alive with village noises, the hiss of a kerosene stove, a goat bleating somewhere close, the distant chatter of women returning from the market. "Mama," he began, "I need to understand. What is this depth Papa is talking about?" She was quiet for a long time, long enough for him to hear the clink of a pot lid. "It started before you were born," she said finally. "Your grandfather owned a piece of land at the far end of the village. Rich soil, a stream ran through it. But one year, during a famine, a man from another family came, asking to plant yams there. Your grandfather refused. Why? Because the land was meant to pass down, blood to blood. But this man, he went to the shrine and made an oath. They say he cursed your grandfather's name if the land was not given freely. Your grandfather laughed it off." Her voice faltered, but soon after, his crops failed, goats died, your uncle fell ill and never recovered. Emeka's skin prickled. "And Papa?" "Papa inherited the land after your grandfather died. He tried to fight in the court to keep it. The case dragged for years, and the night before the final hearing, he collapsed. Heart stopped in his sleep." Emeka closed his eyes. The memory of the morning rushing back, the neighbor's wail, Mama's hand shaking as she held him, the white sheet over Papa's body. "And you think this curse follows me now?" "I think it's not a matter of thinking, Emeka. It has found you," she said. "It is blood, and blood travels." He wanted to argue, but the heaviness in her tone, the certainty, made the words stick in his throat. When they ended the call, the city outside his window felt less like a promise and more like a cage. After Mama's confession, Emeka began noticing things he couldn't explain. At the grocery store, the lights in the back storage room flickered wherever he walked past. Once, he caught a glimpse of something in the reflection of the freezer door, a tall figure in white, standing at the far end of the aisle. But when he turned, there was no one. In the subway, on his way to a delivery shift, he spotted a man on the platform holding an Iroko wood walking stick almost identical to his father's. The man's back was to him, but when the train roared in, the stranger turned his head slightly, revealing a profile Emeka knew too well. By the time he pushed through the crowd, the man was gone. One Saturday morning, as he was leaving the bodega, the same Yoruba woman from before was waiting outside. Her eyes scanned him like she was reading something written on his skin. "You have until the new moon," she said in a low voice. Emeka's stomach dropped. "What did you say?" She stepped closer. "Some debt you pay in this life, some in the next. Yours is impatient. Go home before it collects." Before he could demand answer, she melted into the crowd, disappearing between two men arguing over lottery tickets. That night, he couldn't sleep. He lay on his back, staring at the ceiling, listening to the radiator uneven breath. At 3 a.m., he heard it, a steady tapping against the window, not like snow, more deliberate. When he pulled the curtain back, there was nothing. No one on the fire escaped, no wind strong enough to knock anything loose. But as he stepped away from the glass, his eyes fell into the far corner of the room. There, leaning against the wall, was a walking stick, his father's walking stick, the one he had left in Lagos. Emeka's mouth went dry. He approached it slowly, reaching out. The wood was warm under his fingertip, as if it had been resting in the sun. Then, somewhere deep inside the apartment, a voice whispered, almost playful, "Do not wait." The stick fell off from his hand. The sound of it hitting the floor seemed to echo far longer than it should have. The next morning, Emeka couldn't shake the image of the walking stick leaning in his room. He searched every corner, checked behind the wardrobe, under the bed. Nothing. The stick was gone, as if it had never been there. But the memory of its warmth against his fingers haunted him all the day. By evening, the air had shifted. The wind was cooler, sharper. Snow fell in the tide, swirling pattern that made the street lights glow like floating orbs. After his shift, he decided to take a different road home. On that cut through a quieter neighborhood, halfway down a deserted block, he saw him, his father, standing on the opposite side of the street, wearing the same white kaftan. His scarf, blowing gently through the air, was still. The glow from the street light painted his face in pale gold. But his eyes were deep shadows. Emeka froze, his breath clouding in the cold. "Papa!" he called, voice trembling. His father raised a hand, not in greeting, but in warning. "You have until the new moon," he said, the words somehow clear despite the distance. "If you do not return, your name will be lost." "What does that mean?" Emeka's voice cracked with desperation. "Lost? How?" The older man's expression did not change. A man's name is his soul in the land of his father. Without it, he drifts forever. A sudden wind whipped between them, and when Emeka blinked, his father was gone. Only the empty street remained, the snow falling heavier now. Emeka stood there for a moment, his mind spinning. Returning to Nigeria meant giving up his New York dream. The sacrifices, the long hours, everything he had just started building. But the weight in his chest, the heaviness in his bones, told him this was not a choice between ambition and superstition. It was a choice between life and something worse. That night he couldn't sleep. The warning kept repeating in his head. Your name will be lost. What did it mean? Was this truly his father, or his mind breaking under the strain of the city and exhaustion? He decided he needed proof. If the spirit following him was real, it would respond, and if it was just in his head, maybe he could finally let it go. At midnight, he bundled himself in layers, grabbed a small bag, and left the apartment. The streets were quiet, blanked in snow. He took the subway to the East River, the wind from the water slicing through his jacket. The days that followed felt like a countdown. Every morning, Emeka could glance at the calendar pinned above his desk. In the grocery store, tiny break room, the new moon was only a handful of nights away, and every night, without a fail, he would hear the same whisper as he drifted towards sleep. Do not wait. He tried to keep his head down at work, but he caught himself jumping at small things. The sudden crash of a dropped crate, the squeak of the street room. Even Keane noticed. "My guy," Kenneth said one evening, "you look like someone is chasing you. Are you okay?" Emeka hesitated. "Would you think I'm crazy if I told you my father has been visiting me?" Kenneth's laughter died when he saw Emeka's face. "Visiting? As in?" "As in he's dead and still here." Kenneth shifted uncomfortably, glancing at the floor. "You need to go home," he said quietly. "Whatever this is, it won't let you go until you face it." That night, Emeka booked a one-way ticket to Lagos. He sold the small electronic he bought for resale, pawned his extra jacket, and scraped together the fare. When he stepped off the plane in Lagos, the humid air wrapped around him like a heavy blanket. The airport smell of kerosene, sweat, and the faint sweetness of fried plantain from a nearby store. Mama was waiting outside, her eyes scanning him as if to make sure all of him had made it back. "You came?" she said, relief and fear mingling in her voice. That evening, word spread quickly through the village. Some greeted him warmly, others with cautious glances. A few muttered to each other, using phrases like city madness and chasing shadows. But Emeka ignored them. He knew why he was here, and on the night before the new moon, he would walk to the land his father had fought for and face water without waited. The moon was a thin silver blade in the night sky. When Emeka left the house, the village was quiet. The path to the crossland was overgrown. Tall elephant grasses brushed against his arms, and the scent of damp earth clung to him. As he reached the edge of the property, he stood. His father was there, not in a dream, not in flicker of reflection, standing, solid, just beyond the boundary. The moonlight casted a pale glow over his head. "You came," the older man said, his voice both proud and heavy. Emeka swallowed. "Tell me what to do." "Bury the stake," his father said. "Return it to the land and promise it will never leave the family again." Emeka knelt down and began to dig with his hands. The earth was cool and soft, almost welcoming. As the hole deepened, the air around him began to hum, low at first, then louder, like 100 drums beating in unison. When he looked up, he was smiling. Not the first, weary smile he remembered from those last year, but the real one, the smile from his childhood. "You have freed us," his father said. "Now, my son, you may hustle." Then he was gone. No flicker, no fade, just gone. Emeka sat back in his heels, staring at the disturbed earth. The weight in his chest was gone. The night felt lighter, almost alive with possibility. By dawn, the village found him asleep under the old Iroko tree. They said the curse had lifted. The land was now his now. And though he would return to New York, Emeka knew something had changed forever. No matter how far he went, his name and his soul were anchored in the red earth of the home. If this story moved you, imagine how many years others need to hear it. Share it with a friend who believes in the power of roots, tradition, and family. Drop a comment below. Would you have gone back home if you were Emeka, or would you have stayed in New York and risked the curse? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more unforgettable folktales, and click the bell icon so that you don't miss the next story. Because sometimes the past doesn't just knock, it follows. Thank you. See you in my next video.